let's get started. Thank you again for Dina joining us as well. I'm really excited to be co-chairing this presentation with her. She comes with a lot of great industry experience, specifically in the healthcare world, and obviously in regards to social recruitment. So we're really excited to have her on. Thank you for coming on with us, Dina.
Oh, great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Great. So let's go ahead and get started. We have a lot of material to cover, and we'll try to go through it as efficiently as possible. And of course, as Dan mentioned, we'll open it up for questions at the end of the presentation. Today's discussion, the topic will be how to recruit healthcare talent on social media. We're really excited to be talking to you about this material today, mainly because we know that it's most dear to your heart, and ultimately finding great healthcare talent is a huge global challenge. So we're happy to be able to present and try to help you reach those objectives and goals. As Dan mentioned earlier, you can, considering this is a social media webinar, we would love to have you tweet along with us any important topics or material that you think will be helpful, either in your process or your team. So feel free to tweet or hashtag work4webinar, and then you can also follow us at work4labs. So a quick history about Work4 as an organization. I want to spend as little time talking about really us as an organization, but and more kind of getting into the statistics and why social recruiting is so important for healthcare. But real quickly, Work4 as an organization, we have been around for 4 years. We've worked with over 60 of the Fortune 500 companies, so we're pretty proud of that. Many of them global leaders in their respective industries, and as you can see, several of them in the healthcare sector as well. So ultimately, we've done a lot. As you can see, a lot of organizations are kind of leaning to social media in droves over the last several years, and we've helped them lead the charge in that way. We've also had a tremendous amount of success in the technology space on social media. Most companies look at us as a leader in the social technology world, and a lot of the things that we develop, we strictly do in the social and mobile arena. We actually got into the mobile space about 2 years ago, and that was mainly because we saw huge trends as it relates to social and mobile. Roughly about 60% of people that are on social media tend to access it from a mobile device. We thought that those things go hand in hand. And then I would say one of our biggest advantages, why most companies choose to work with us, is our close partnerships with the social media channels. In particular, we have a very distinct designation with Facebook called a preferred marketing developer, and we'll talk about some of the values and benefits that helps us provide our customers momentarily, but that is something that is a distinction of what we do and how we can help our customers develop really recruiting strategies as it pertains to Facebook and also other social media. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Dina, and she's going to talk to you a little bit more about some of her objectives at Cigna.
Great. So again, thank you so much for having me here today. Really thrilled to be able to share Cigna's story. And before we get started, but I would just say is that this is a journey. We don't have all the answers. We're actually trying to figure those out on a daily basis. As we think about how we're actually globalizing our own organization, we have operations in 26 countries today, and just constantly looking at our partnerships and the message, and frankly, just our brand message. And I do want to spend some time just talking about that today as well. So as I mentioned, it's important to note that our strategy, the strategy that we've leveraged today, has really been 5 years in the making, just in terms of how we launched what we call our Go Deep, Go Global, Go Individual strategy. And this strategy is really focused on our ability to embrace and drive execution, and really putting our customers and clients and partners front and center in all things, and knowing that we just really have to take a step back and revisit our strategic direction periodically in order to evolve it in a more proactive way. Two of the themes that I like to talk about when I'm presenting on this topic are themes that we have focused on as an organization, the first being localization and the second being personalization. So when we think about localization, it's really a natural evolution, right? So already we have our Go Deep strategy of identifying how we can become even more intently focused on key markets and bringing all of our resources to bear in a more localized fashion for the benefits of our customers and our clients. And then the second theme is more or less around personalization, which I will continue to talk about that theme. So how do we personalize it? Do we understand, what the customer wants? For us, and thinking about recruitment in the healthcare space or just recruitment in general and identifying key talent across the globe, it's also understanding that many of the candidates that we talk to on a daily basis are Cigna customers today, or they could be Cigna customers in the future. Next slide, please. Next, I'm going to talk just very briefly, just as an introduction, and I'll talk more about Cigna a little bit in the presentation, are just really what are our priorities, right? So we've taken steps to become a different healthcare or health services organization by really focusing again squarely on the needs and wants and expectations of our customers. So when we talk about our customers, these really are the end consumers of our products and services. But we have other important constituents as well, like employers, right? So they make purchase decisions, but they're not necessarily the end consumer. We call them our clients. Cigna's really been on this journey to become more customer-centric for quite some time. So regardless of how widespread our operations are, I think we all have one thing in common, right? And that is we're putting the customer front and center of everything we do. We're paying close attention to what our customers need and when and how they need it. Again, very similar to our communication strategy. And I think this is really how we've approached our partnerships and how we attract key talent for all of our key openings in the United States and across the globe today. Next slide, please.
Great. Thank you very much, Dina. Looking at your priorities, I kind of look at that in comparison to what we're doing at Work4, and there's a little bit of overlap. I think that those three takeaways could probably be helpful for many organizations that are on this call because they seem very poignant and powerful, so thank you. So I just wanted to go over our agenda real quick. The way I view of how we'll go over today's content is similar to a funnel. We're going to start out very broad and saying, hey, this is what social media is about and why you should be here, going a little bit more deeper into social recruiting and then also social recruiting for healthcare, and then we'll get into Cigna as a case study. So hopefully that gives you kind of a clear outline of what we'll go over today's call, and we hope you enjoy it. So I wanted to start out with some general information about social media statistics in general. So if you look at this, 37 minutes per day were spent on social media of an average American. And I think that's an interesting statistic. I actually kind of debated, or I would say discussed this topic with my marketing team when they presented it to me. And at first I thought it was interesting because 37 minutes to me per day really doesn't seem like a ton of time. Especially in a given 24-hour period. But if you think about it, to actually sit down and do something for 37 minutes, so pretty much almost a little bit more than half of this phone call today that you've given us some of your time. So it really does mean a lot. And 37 minutes also, this includes non-internet users, which makes that number seem much more realistic or larger when you start thinking about people that aren't necessarily on the internet and ultimately aren't on social media. And this is also the most amount of time spent on any internet activity, including email. So I thought that in comparison makes that number stick out a little bit more for me. Now let's break it down to the various social media channels. The ones that obviously there are many social media channels out there and they continue to evolve and change and grow. The ones that we strictly think of and focus on for the most part are the top three, right? Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. So those are the ones that we're going to be talking to you about today and how you can evolve those recruitment strategies from those different channels. Facebook, certainly the leader in social networks. So we'll talk about that one first, I think, for obvious reasons, but there are over 1.3 billion users, certainly a large audience, and we'll talk about how we can segment that. But I think the most staggering statistic for me when it comes to Facebook is the amount of time spent on that particular social media network. About 83% of total time spent on all social media is actually done on Facebook. I think LinkedIn is slightly over 1%, and LinkedIn and Twitter is also slightly over 1%. So Facebook, to me, presents a tremendous amount of opportunity from just an engagement standpoint, because certainly most people are spending a lot of time on it. And I know that even for me personally, when I get onto the social media network, I go on thinking I'm just going to check my status updates and take a look at people's photos, and then next thing you know, an hour later, I'm consumed. So certainly that, to me, especially in the marketing world, a tremendous amount of opportunity because, again, you're getting in front of candidates where you know they're spending their time. LinkedIn, many of you I'm sure are using LinkedIn or have used LinkedIn, or at least use it for personal, if not professional purposes. But it's a great channel, as you know, for professionals, and because of that, it's certainly worthy of note. I think you'll also start noticing between Facebook and LinkedIn and even Twitter, almost half of the users on it come from a mobile device. So that kind of goes back to my statement that social and mobile really should be looked at a lot of times in tandem. So as you guys are developing your social media strategies, it makes sense to think of, hey, how can we make sure that we're interacting with our candidates on a mobile, and do we have the ability for candidates to apply via mobile as well? So LinkedIn is a great channel. And then lastly is Twitter. Twitter I look at as a distribution channel, and ultimately it's a great way to spread the word either through your own brand, your own organization's company's handle, or those of your employees. So we'll talk a little bit about how your recruiters can help get into the ability to go ahead and share content and start getting into the discussion and employment branding, helping to spread that across the various social media channels. And Twitter is a great place to be able to do that. As you can see, it's a highly mobile channel as well. So that gives you kind of a quick overview of social media in general. What we're going to get into now is how you can use it specifically for social recruiting. And, again, we're talking about the three major social media channels, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. As we go a little bit deeper, these statistics kind of, for the most part, stand out to me because we know, as you know, we're spending a lot of time on social media. Why and how should we recruit there? And these are statistics that from speaking to numerous organizations over my last, actually now 11 years in the business, most of them tell me that they're looking to hire more successfully, reach better quality applicants, reduce their time to hire, reduce turnover as well. And all of these things, ironically, are increased by the usage of social media. So that in itself is a key reason of why most organizations are choosing to go in this direction. So because of that, for me, it seems like it took a while for organizations to figure this out. As Dina mentioned earlier, it's not, I think, a perfect science, and it's something that you always are trying to evolve. I've been, in regards to social recruiting, I've actually been in the space for about 6 years, and I can tell you what it looks like today looked totally different 6 years ago. And I'm imagining in 6 years from today, it would look even more different. So again, these are key metrics. We certainly think that it's a great channel for better quality. It's particularly because you start to get into the concept of referrals. If you think about social media as a channel for being able to information, there's the enhanced ability to leverage your employees, whether a recruiter or a frontline level employee, a nurse, if you would. Chances are they're communicating with their friends and their other potential employees on social media, and it's a great way for them to potentially share your organization's jobs with them and ultimately drive a referral. So when we look at social media from an individual usage, a job seeker standpoint, there's three really main objectives that you can accomplish, or what we're finding employees accomplishing. And the first one starts out with sharing jobs with people and their friends. So I consistently get either reminders from other organizations of people that I know, either through past places that I've worked, such as Career Builder or Yahoo, and they're sharing jobs for their current employer. I've actually had success myself with an individual that even works at Work4 that happened to come through this activity. But ultimately, sharing job-related information is certainly very common in the industry, specifically on Facebook, also Twitter and LinkedIn. And because of that, referrals are a consistent channel, again, when it comes to social media. So job seekers are certainly sharing job content. It's also becoming more and more prevalent to be able to store your digital resume online as well. I know that initially the resume databases were something of the job boards, but LinkedIn was the first to really take the resume and socialize it and create it so that it's forward-facing, something that's available to the general public and to be sourced accordingly. Facebook is starting to do a better job at that as well. Twitter isn't quite there yet. You can create your own company or personal profile, but it really doesn't let you segment your job history or work history. So, as individuals are continuing to do this, it's becoming a better arsenal or a better tool, if you would, to be able to actually identify key talent based on the work history that they are. And then also, because social media is open to friends and relatives, etc., it allows for validation as well. If I happen to see somebody that put some fictitious information in their profile, I'd be more interested in making sure that they updated it if it was inaccurate. So it's a way for the most part for people to keep it honest. And then lastly is the engagement that people are actually doing when it comes to company profiles. I know that Cigna will be going into a little bit more about their brand and how they're very social at the moment, and it's a great way for you to engage with your employees and for future employees to look and see what your corporate culture is about, and for future employees to see that and engage with you on social media is something that we're also seeing a lot of. So it's a great channel to be able to, again, keep that corporate culture visible, so that way before even an individual comes to work for you, they know a little bit more about the organization from a personal standpoint, and then chances are they're maybe a little less likely to turn over because they know, again, a little bit more about you as a company, and maybe ultimately are able to flush any uncertainties out beforehand. So this I find interesting. If you look at it from a healthcare recruiter standpoint, recruiters that are in the industry, they're spending a tremendous amount of time on all of these channels, as you can see, more so Facebook than most. But I look at these three channels in kind of conjunction with one another. For me personally, I do work with a lot of healthcare clients, and the biggest thing for me is I look at the social media channels, even from my own personal usage. And if you look at certainly Facebook, for me personally, at least, again, is where most of my healthcare friends reside. So I know a lot of nurses, potentially some doctors in my network, and certainly physical therapists and speech pathologists, a lot of different roles and positions in the healthcare world. They tend to converse, but sometimes even more so on Facebook than I do. And I think that was pretty telling. But, if I look at my three networks, it's certainly healthcare is one where Facebook seems to gravitate towards the most. So because of that, I still do think that's probably your best opportunity. LinkedIn is certainly pretty strong as well. And healthcare and Twitter, I think just because you can't categorize things as well as you can with others, it might be a little bit misleading. But this is just interesting because a lot of healthcare recruiters are, again, kind of leaning more towards Facebook as well. All right. So let's talk a little bit more. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Dina, and she's going to talk a little bit more about social recruiting, social media recruiting as it pertains to healthcare.
Thank you so much. One of my favorite topics. Again, really wanted to reiterate, I think, as we move forward, the themes that I had indicated earlier, which is, again, this is a journey. And however, on this journey, we've really focused on, I think, three specific areas that have helped us drive success and ultimately the ability to execute on a greater strategy. And those are the three I'm going to focus on for just a moment. The first is just making your organization accessible. So allowing candidates the opportunity to learn about who you are. The second is building those relationships really early on in the process with those candidates. So how do we cast the widest net? How do we help candidates to learn more about, in our case, Cigna, earlier in the process via the networks that we just talked about, through our employee referrals, a chance to listen to a testimonial, visit a page or video to learn about the culture. And again, it's all about access to information when we think about attracting the right talent to the organization. And then lastly, promoting your organization as an employer of choice. So building a strategy that promotes your employer brand, who you are, what that means to those that you serve each and every day. So at Cigna, everything we do is really tied to our overarching employee brand and guiding principles, as well as the attributes of those guiding principles, really are focused on being proactive, personal, and empathetic. What I can tell you, and for those of you that know Cigna, very soon, as part of a review of our global brand, we are actually going to be introducing some new changes as of September 8th. And again, I mentioned the term journey, and it's the theme. It's what we live each and every day because we are changing as an organization. But this is more of our new global brand. So again, really listening to what we're hearing, using social listening, which I'll talk about in just a moment. What are our partnerships saying? So what are we hearing from our partners in the marketplace as well, and are we continuing to evolve that employer brand message and that brand as an organization? Next slide, please. We talk about being accessible. What does that mean specifically? We've already heard some statistics specific to sites like Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And these sources allow us to connect with our members easily, proactively on a daily basis. But it's not just our members, right? It's businesses, it's in our case, brokers that we work with, candidates in the community to inform them about our services. In our case, new developments in chronic care and disease prevention, as well as wellness events that we host all over the country, resources that we sponsor and are available not just to our members and those in the community, but also to our employees. I would encourage you to think about, creating a personal or business profile and being able to link to others so job candidates and potential customers can read about your organization. And then those connected to you can also recommend you to others in their network, which further promotes you in the organization. We actually track this very, very closely, and we measure this as Net Promoter Score. So how willing is someone to, in our case, recommend Cigna in the marketplace, or what some might refer to that referenceability factor as well. So again, when we talk about how willing is one to recommend Cigna in the marketplace, for us, it's not just as a healthcare provider, but also as an employer. We employ 35,000 employees all across the globe, 26 countries. We're expanding through acquisition activity outside the United States and inside the United States as well. So again, back to that brand strategy. And I would say that the ever-expanding social media landscape really provides healthcare recruiters with a lot of dynamic tools to build that thriving organization, as long as you identify what that right instrument is. So although social media is really important in growing from a recruitment perspective, it's not necessarily where job seekers always start their search, right? So avenues like Facebook, Glassdoor are great resources as well. One of the things that I uncovered from a statistics perspective is that approximately 74% of candidates, they start on some kind of search engine such as Facebook or Google, or 69% might begin their search leveraging a job board like Career Builder to learn about the organization. But this is where job listings really serve the hunting and gathering function, because it's here that the job seeker finds specific job titles, shift hours, pay scales, location. But once they're interested, that's when they're moving on to social media, where they can learn again about the culture, the work environment, the organizational structure, who their potential coworkers might be, all of which, these aspects all weigh very heavily on their decision of where to apply and if they actually want to pursue an opportunity with that organization. Next slide. And then, again, promoting your organization as an employer of choice. So using social media to provide an authentic view of what it's like to work in your organization and what we've done at Cigna. So we use real photos of real employees interacting. It's more powerful for us to, talk a little bit about on Facebook or on Twitter about the things that we're doing, what it's like to work there. What is the culture? How involved are we in the community? How can we show our candidates, how involved we are through real time, right? So the things that we're doing to support community events and different associations and lending that level of support all across the globe. But I wouldn't say we want to stop there, right? So different social media channels have developed because they serve a specific niche. So as a role, from a recruiter to recruiting leadership, we should use each channel really for what it does best, right? So what I'm trying to say is there's not necessarily a one-size-fits-all social media channel or partnership, and we want to be thoughtful in the approach. So maybe taking it slowly, developing that strategy, but doing it a little bit at a time, and then being able to understand your return on investment, the results that you've achieved. And then obviously social sharing, and I'm going to talk just a little bit about that today. The social recruiting platform, visual job sharing, targeting ads, mobile and optimized mobile. Interesting point on the mobile front. What I would say for Cigna, in Cigna's case, and this is always an interesting point, is our ATS, or our applicant tracking system, how candidates actually apply today, is not mobile enabled. so we really had to look for partnerships in other ways by which we can reach applicants through mobile application, mobile device, mobile capabilities. We will be introducing our new applicant tracking system in the United States in just a very few weeks, but it's been interesting because we've really had to make some additional changes and adjustments in order to allow candidates to learn more in the way, again, by which they want to receive that information. So candidates really wanting to be able to access information through mobile capabilities. It's been a big part of our strategy and a very big focus for us as well. I'm going to talk a little bit about social job sharing and some of our targeted ads and some of the successes that we've had in specific markets as well.
Great, thanks, Tina. Looking forward to going over that information, because I thankfully had the ability to look forward on the presentation, and pretty excited about that piece. So let's talk a little bit more specifically now about the audience of healthcare as it pertains to recruitment on social media. There are, as you saw, a lot of different tools, social tools that you can actually use, and I know Dina will talk about a few of those momentarily, but I'm going to actually take a moment to talk about the Facebook advertising piece. This is probably one of the most exciting reasons that I'm here at work for. I came from the online media space and worked at Yahoo for several years as well, and part of that experience allowed me to have some level of exposure to online media advertising. And I can tell you, hands down, Facebook, from a capability standpoint and from an audience standpoint, is spectacular. Some of you certainly can do Facebook advertising independently, although it is somewhat challenging, or there are others similar to Cigna who rely on our expertise and our close relationship to Facebook. We have what's called, again, a preferred marketing developer relationship, or a PMD. And what that allows us to do is it allows us to have very advanced targeting as it pertains to Facebook for advertising. You can have better run at advertising units as Facebook rolls them out. They tend to lend them to their PMD partners first. We also provide complete management and support over our customers' campaigns, and because of, again, that access to Facebook and their API, it allows us to help create optimization and actually have actual strategy discussions in regards to your recruitment efforts on the channel. This is just kind of a small look of an advertisement that would exist on Facebook, and it's a great way to reach desktop and mobile users. And then also, it's a great opportunity to engage with those potential job seekers with your brand, whether it's a still image or we're actually running some great campaigns as it pertains to video, which are even more engaging. So as certainly as job seekers are more visual, they tend to engage with that media a little bit more fluently as they're doing their day-to-day activities on Facebook. So it's very powerful. As far as targeting goes, it's pretty interesting because we have the capability, as you can see, to target based on some of the key criteria that you would expect: work history, education, language spoken, age range, which probably is maybe a little less common, but I would say at least being able to target someone based on their location and their work history is extremely powerful. I think the most underestimated targeting capability, in my opinion, is the interest section. We'll talk about that in a second. But as far as interest goes, it's not necessarily people are affiliated to certain groups or like certain brands or like certain companies, and because of that, you can leverage that information to get in front of candidates who essentially either are affiliated with a certain subset of group of an employee, or even people that are affiliated with your brand, which, certainly trying to find somebody that likes you as an organization before they come to work for you is a great sign to potentially having an employee who's going to, again, love your culture and love your brand. So certainly very powerful there. I want to talk, again, getting more and more granular, we're going to talk about nursing. So these are some statistics that we pulled through our advertising platform on Facebook in comparison also to LinkedIn. There were 1.42 million people that are on Facebook that have either a nurse or a registered nurse or a nursing type role or function in their title. 1.6 million of them identified in LinkedIn. But what's really, really compelling is the 8 million, which is essentially if you take into effect likes and interests, you're able to actually expand your audience tremendously. These are essentially 8 million people that are somehow affiliated to nursing in some way, shape, or form. Either might not have identified themselves sufficiently that way on Facebook, or again, a part of a group or of association of nurses in a local market area. And because of that, as you can see, again, the tremendous amount of opportunity is in regards to reaching qualified healthcare and nursing professionals. And to kind of delve into what that means a little bit more, if you look at it again, of course, job title and education are pretty self-explanatory. We can easily identify key roles and positions as it regards to nursing, but the interest is really appealing because, again, individuals may or may not have their profile information filled out quite yet, and because of that, we can still find out if they are somehow associated or know a nurse, and because of that, the social and virality aspect of targeting becomes very powerful. Because again, you can open yourselves up to either a degree, if you would, somebody that either is an affiliation to a group of local nurses or affiliation of a group of people that have gotten a certain degree, or people that again are let's say part of a certain specific subset or practice of nursing, or is a tremendous amount of opportunity again to expand that network beyond the people that are just identifying themselves as such. So I'm just going to run through a couple of quick, we actually do have a couple of quick slides in regards to other key healthcare positions that might be of interest to you as well. I would just say if we don't cover your specific job role that you're focused on right now, not to say we couldn't, so feel free to reach out to us and let us know what your key challenge is or position, and we'll be more than happy to find out what that ideal audience size looks like. So here's an example of social workers, speech language pathologists, physical therapists, and I'll leave it off there. And with just one comment is that we work very closely with our companies and find out exactly which of them, what are their key challenges and roles, either by geography or role type, and we'll help you really find and strategize on a proper campaign to get you in front of the right audience at the right time. At this time, I think without further ado, I'll kick it back over to Dina. Really excited about this portion of it because she'll go into a little bit more depth on exactly what she's doing for Cigna. So as we mentioned, we talked highly on social media in general, social recruiting, healthcare recruiting on social, and now we'll get pretty specific, and Dina will share some of the insights and success that she's had so far.
No, thank you. Thank you so much. So one thing, as you were talking about the various kinds of positions, I was thinking about this earlier, and I should have mentioned it, but we hire all kinds of for all kinds of clinical talent, if you will, everything from nurse practitioners to nurses to case managers to nutritionists, exercise physiologists, pharmacists, pharmacy techs, MAs. So the list is long and it's not easy. So for the healthcare recruiters on the line, I used to manage our clinical operations, and I still do a fair amount of it to some degree across the globe, and it's tough. It's really a challenge. And so again, it goes back to what I was saying a little bit earlier in terms of, how can we identify and attract talent in a different way, in a way that we've just never leveraged before. And it did require us to conduct a fair bit of training, with our own team to make sure that they felt comfortable. And again, it's just been a constant journey and evolution. But we've had some fantastic partners. Our partnership with Work4 and the work that we do with them each and every day, and the data that they provide to us and the recommendations has been just truly instrumental in our ability to attract that great talent to the organization. But just in talking a little bit about Cigna's success story, and you might want to flip to this, I think the next slide there. I mentioned a little bit earlier that we are a global company now. So I've been with Cigna 16 years. I've seen a lot of change, and we're continuing to innovate, expand, and grow our operations globally. Today, we have our global healthcare business includes commercial lines of business encompassing our U.S. and international operations, everything from medical, dental, behavioral health, vision, prescription drug benefit plans, health advocacy programs, and other products and services. So really, the point is to provide a more comprehensive global healthcare benefits program to employers, their employees, and also globally mobile individuals. We're also a federal contractor, so we're very heavily involved in Medicare and Medicaid plans for Medicare and Medicaid eligible individuals, primarily our seniors market. So everything that we do, from our service operations to our clinical operations, is truly an investment in our customers each and every day. And as David Cordani, our CEO, likes to say, we have two things that are our biggest assets, people and technology. So again, I want to continue to focus on those two today. Around technology, what I would say is that we've spent a lot of time investing in time, talent, and technology, but that comes in many forms. As an organization, we work around the clock, so we handle upwards of 100,000 calls a day, and we really strive to provide that service on a very deeply personal level. And we use technology to do that. So we utilize blogs, we utilize Facebook as an example, and other social media channels to interact with our customers each and every day. We actually have teams that are dedicated to our social channels and making sure that we're providing commentary or we had a situation this morning where there was an inquiry about a scenario, and we took immediate action working with our clinical teams to outreach to that customer proactively to ensure that we could provide some kind of resolution. Next slide, please. Thank you. This is one of my favorite slides. It talks a lot about what I've just referenced, which is, our people and our technology. So technology enables our teams to better communicate with each other and in turn to better communicate with all of our stakeholders. So we've really evolved to the point where our technology people think first in terms of our customers' needs and then identify the best technologies to deliver that differentiated value. We've also focused on making ongoing targeted investments to help position us for sustained growth. And these investments are enabling us to create deeper, more personal relationships with our customers. And that means that we are better aligned to understand their needs and then to integrate and develop our products and services with those needs in mind. Technology is fueling our ability to create new and additional personalized healthcare experiences for our customers as well. So again, back to mobile, like we're using mobile and social and gamification and web-based incentives to help drive improved health behaviors, health outcomes, and affordability of healthcare services. One example of that in 2013 was our new initiative with the digital health and social engagement company, Social Wealth, that really helps individuals choose which health and fitness applications are most appropriate to help meet their health and wellness goals. We've also launched the Cigna mobile application, which puts the power in customers' hands to improve their health, manage their costs, and to get the most from their healthcare benefit plan. So you can see technology, social, again, gamification, how we're interacting with our customers, how we interact with our candidates. Everything is lockstep in terms of our approach from a technology and brand perspective. Next slide, please. Thank you. So act as if what we do really does make a difference. So from a recruiting perspective, I think this is most applicable in terms of how we communicate. And it's not just communicating the opportunity. It goes back to how we're, the interactions that we have with those candidates each and every day. What happens to the candidate that may not be selected for an opportunity today, and how can we continue to keep them engaged going forward in the future? So we are constantly looking for passive candidates and how we kind of convert them right into a candidate that may be interested in learning more about a new opportunity today or in the future. And again, this provides us with the opportunity to expand our reach and to cast that wider net. Next slide. So objectives, our strategy has had many facets, and there are a couple that I'd like to share with you. I'm going to go into some detail here, and I know just from a time perspective, I like to keep moving as we want to highlight some of the successes that we've had specifically with our partnership with Work4. The first in the strategy, though, is specific to developing new passive talent streams. And again, that goes back to the comment I've just made in terms of identifying those passive candidates and keeping them engaged, and how we communicate, how we leverage feedback that we've received. We actually use feedback that we receive from all of our social media channels and through social listening exercises to draft and execute on our strategy, to develop training for our talent consultants, to improve the partnership we have with digital marketing and our brand teams as well. So it's that constant flow of feedback through surveys and other means that we use to drive that strategy. Secondly, strengthening employment branding. Now, I did mention that we would be introducing a new global brand as an organization in a couple weeks. And as I can say, the brand has continued to shift and evolve over the years, and I anticipate that that's going to continue, as will our employer brand. So for us, it's definitely a work in progress. I think there are conversations every day about employment brand. Through joint venture partnerships and acquisition, we're still in the process of even building our employment brand in the United States. Over the last 2 years, we've acquired some very large companies, HealthSpring, Great American Supplemental Benefits, Allegiance Care out of Chicago. And globally, we've started on this path and in working closely with our brand and digital marketing team to unify our presence, and this work continues. Engage talent in open personal dialogue. So again, this goes back to how we improve employee advocacy and engagement. Our employees continue to be our #1 source of hire. At Cigna in 2003, over 38% of our external hires came to Cigna as a result of our robust employee referral program. That's in the United States. And we are harmonizing our policies across the globe from an employee referral perspective. And then needing to assemble a group of talent brand ambassadors, again, leveraging, our employee referral program where we can. So we've started to assemble teams, employee ambassadors across the organization. And these employees are helping to shape the decisions of future candidates. For you, we can also, I would encourage you to think about, those external fans, as well as coming to your page to do homework on who you are and are you a great place to work and what's the message that they're getting. And how our employees may or may not play a part in that strategy as well. And then getting our employees on board and having them do a couple of things. So uploading pictures, I talked about that earlier in terms of what we're doing in the community. Sites like Glassdoor, which we leverage rather aggressively as well, we are able to gather information from past employees, individuals that have interviewed with Cigna, and even our current employees who are uploading information and sharing their own personalized experience. We actually are one of the first companies that has been able to start responding to some of those posts as well, meaning we're taking the time to thank them for the information that they are providing, and we're using that information as well, and as compared against exit interview survey data and onboarding survey data to understand where are the gaps. Is it training? Is it manager engagement? Is it a realistic job preview, right? So do candidates fully understand the environment? Do they understand almost what they're getting themselves into right before they think about accepting an opportunity? Are they prepared as well in making the right decision? So it's not just the right decision for Cigna, but it's also the right decision for the candidate. And then having our employees participate in social media campaigns and writing reviews as well. As it relates to promoting our company, being able to drive traffic to our company brand page and career site is really important. I think our rule of thumb has been over the last, I'd say 2 years, since my role has evolved over the last 2 years, and we've really taken a more proactive approach in managing our partnership with our social media presence, because prior to that, the talent organization wasn't involved. We were almost relying on our corporate branding teams or our digital marketing teams to kind of manage that brand. So in the last 2 years, we've really taken a more proactive approach. We've managed and developed some additional partnerships to help us in those efforts, and we've stayed very closely aligned to those partnerships. So our rule of thumb has typically been, if we don't manage our employee brand or employer brand, then somebody else is going to write the story for us. So we'd rather be on the front line. We'd rather take that proactive stance. We'd rather receive the feedback and do something with that information, not just collect it, but actually execute on it and leverage and analyze the data to make better decisions for the future. So as an example, as we just launched our new global career site on July 26th, and we're getting ready to introduce our new applicant tracking system across the globe, we have taken into consideration the feedback, our presence on social media, in order to make some very, very key decisions. And we'll continue to do that going forward. Next slide, please. As we continue, our strategy is also focused on, again, targeting ideal candidates based on user-generated information. I've already referenced social listening, but we work very closely with our social listening team. So social listening and monitoring can really help make your recruiting efforts more successful. It enables you to search for potential candidates more effectively and gain a better insight into your reputation as an employer. So we do things like monitor hashtags and keywords that are related to our industry, to Cigna, to positions that we're posting, our reputation in the marketplace, and we've been able to gather valuable information that can be used to optimize our recruitment strategies and campaigns. There are also social media platforms that allow you to actually look, for healthcare professionals, as we just talked about, in many specific locations, and we're going to talk a little bit about some targeted campaigns that we did as well. And then using opportunities like social media or social listening, we can benchmark against the efforts of early adopters and learn from their successes and failures, which we've been able to do. That means that we're really educating ourselves through research and through our vendor partnerships to understand those trends in the marketplace. So what's working? What are the new options? What have we attempted perhaps a number of times through a pilot or a test? And can we use those to enhance that social media strategy? And from that, we've been able to develop more strategic, methodical, and more phased approach in order to be more effective in the long run. So what I would say about our strategy at Cigna is we did not do everything at once. There's still a lot of things in our social strategy that we're just not prepared to do. And frankly, with all the changes that are taking place Q4 of this year, we're not going to be in a position to move forward on some of those items, but they are future state. And it's okay to take that slow approach and to make sure that the things that you are doing are actually working. Also we wanted to understand through that more phased approach and what is it that we're trying to achieve, right? Do we have the right partnerships in place? Again, how are candidates connecting to us today? And then leveraging, as I mentioned, survey methodologies to help us gather information. We also have a talent scorecard that we release on a quarterly basis. So we do provide information to our leadership, our talent organization, in terms of our source of hire, candidate satisfaction, both internal candidate satisfaction, external candidate satisfaction, new hire satisfaction, hiring manager satisfaction. So again, we're constantly looking for that information so that we can continue to improve and to be more transparent in the work that we're doing. Next slide, please. This is just a quick slide of Cigna's brand presence. As I mentioned, and this might be news to some of my workforce partners because this is all just being released literally today with the new brand release of Cigna on September 8th, which has been a work in progress. We were just in a meeting earlier today talking about that brand release, so we'll be working with our workforce partners to update our presence on Facebook over the course of the next week or two. But this is our brand presence. As you can see, it's very unified in terms of what we look like on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. I'd say Twitter is probably our biggest area of opportunity. While we do leverage it today, we don't really leverage it as extensively as we probably could. What I would also say is while we do work closely with digital marketing and brands, we don't have a dedicated talent acquisition social media function within talent. My team manages those partnerships very, very closely. Again, we're trying to look at what is the future. Is there an opportunity for us to have some additional dedicated resources to ensure that we're continuing to expand our brand on all channels? Next slide, please. This is an overview of our presence on Twitter. So we recognize the potential for social recruiting again, Twitter seems to be, for us, an exciting opportunity and a huge area of opportunity. From a social listening perspective and the results that we have just received from the recent analysis, this is Cigna's biggest area of opportunity from a recruitment perspective, how we continue to expand our brand on Twitter. So we will be continuing to focus on some additional strategies focused on Twitter. Using Twitter has allowed us to, in some instances, find hard-to-reach candidates. It offers us an ability to outreach to passive candidates, highlight different events, that were, as we were at different events across the country. As we talk about millennials and that recruitment focus as well, we have a very robust, what we call early career hiring strategy at Cigna that is not just focused on those that are graduating today or over the course of the maybe December or in the States the May timeframe, but also those individuals that have graduated perhaps within the last 5 years. So that's actually how we designate our early career hiring strategy, which is a little bit different than a typical university relations strategy. So again, looking at different ways to communicate with different groups and listening to their feedback. So again, Twitter seems to be an area of opportunity for us. Next slide, please. Glassdoor. So when I talk about the theme of transparency, Glassdoor is one that comes to mind just in terms of how we've leveraged this organization. When we first started talking about Glassdoor, there was a lot of apprehension. The reality of it is that we had a presence on Glassdoor, whether we wanted one or not. And that means that we have the opportunity to develop a partnership with Glassdoor to enhance our employer brands, right? So through better and more advanced branding methodologies, the ability to update and add information, the ability to actually post positions on Twitter, through Twitter, but on Glassdoor as well, through our Twitter feed, as you can see here. We also, as I mentioned earlier, we're one of the first organizations to actually start replying to open posts on Glassdoor from our current employees or from former employees or individuals that have actually, maybe thought about joining the organization and had notated a comment. So for us, it was about being transparent and educating our recruiters and working very closely with our own centers of excellence in terms of how we respond to certain pieces of information as well. The other thing about Glassdoor is that instead of being afraid of this level of transparency, we've kind of embraced it, and it's actually been a really good thing for us. Glassdoor is an organization that's grown. I don't know if you are all familiar with Glassdoor, but it was created by the executives at Expedia and Hotwire, and it's really grown over the last couple of years. But we have been able to actually take some information based on the comments and posts. Again, as I said, manage that against our exit interviews, turnover data, onboarding information to come up with 5 to 10 action steps that we are really focused on today in terms of how we're attracting and retaining key talent. So again, I think it really all depends on how you use the information. And again, it's not good enough just to have a post, but are you actually taking that and doing something with the information in a more proactive way? So that's really the approach that we've taken with Glassdoor. As you can see, there are links to our Facebook page, our Twitter account, LinkedIn here as well. So again, integrating everything together has been very important. Next slide. I'll just peruse this very briefly. This is just our reputation. So through Glassdoor, we have the ability to gauge Cigna's reputation in the marketplace based on comments. And that's 83%, that's David Cordani's approval rating based on feedback. That is not something that Cigna is promoting. That's actually based on specific comments and ratings from our current employees, former employees that have actually provided that level of feedback. So as you can see, we're trending very, very well, but we still have a lot of room for opportunity. Next slide. The only other thing I would say, just in closing about Glassdoor, is that from a page views perspective, we've seen a 65% increase over last year at the same time. That means that candidates are visiting Glassdoor to learn more about us than they ever have before. Same is true for Facebook. This is an overview of our LinkedIn presence. Last year, I guess it was about a year ago, we launched our global presence on LinkedIn. Prior to that, it was a bit more fragmented. We had different lines of business that had their own LinkedIn page. They were kind of doing their own thing. It wasn't integrated. We didn't have a global presence. And we also didn't have a careers presence on LinkedIn. That means we didn't have a careers page whereas we can post and have folks follow the organization in terms of the opportunities that they might be interested in learning more about. Very soon, this will also change as we look at our global presence and working with our global partners in Korea, Indonesia, Taiwan, New Zealand, Hong Kong as an example, and how we start to leverage LinkedIn and Facebook more comprehensively to identify talent in those key markets. Just from a LinkedIn perspective, we've had an 11% increase in hires over the course of the last year through our partnership with LinkedIn. So we're very proud of that. Next slide. And then leveraging existing content and followers. So, as a takeaway today, I guess there are a couple of comments that I typically like to ask when I'm talking to folks about, their strategy. And these are questions that we've actually asked ourselves as well as we were sitting down and as we continue to have this conversation, because we have it all the time. It's, who is our audience? What is our audience doing in social media that we might be interested in learning more about? What motivates their behavior? What social communities already are active in our space or even around our brand? What are the conversations that are taking place? So again, leveraging our social channels today, but also social listening avenues to gather that information. Who's doing the talking? Are the speakers influential? And how are they referencing our brand and in what context? So again, those are the questions. Those 7 questions really are very key in determining, what we have done and what we're going to continue to do in the future. As you can see here, this is Cigna's global brand. Again, some of this will be changing in just a couple of weeks. So any reference to where you see Go You as an example is actually going away. Go You doesn't really resonate outside of the United States, as we have learned in working with our global partners, and a couple of additional enhancements that will be very, very exciting. The next time I come back to do a presentation, this is going to look very, very different. Next slide. So this is where we want to talk a little bit about our partnership with Work4, and I say, just a fantastic partnership in terms of where we were and where we're going. So our Work4 partnership is really, as we see it, kind of the central hub for the work that we're doing on social media. So we have a fully branded career site, and it's really allowed us to identify the right candidates for many of our key opportunities. And I do want to talk a little bit more about that here in just a moment, and kind of the evolution of this partnership. Next slide. So connecting with talent using a social career site. This has really allowed us to engage top talent. So again, where are they spending their time on social media? We heard some statistics before specific to Facebook as well. We were one of the first to embrace Facebook, I think, as a recruiting platform. We actually entered into this partnership back in 2012. And through this partnership, it's evolved. So we're constantly looking at campaigns, different markets, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. But really, by leveraging this partnership, making opportunities accessible to visitors of the Cigna Careers page, we actually have a second page out there as well for Cigna Early Career Hiring. Again, those are our college graduates or those that have graduated from college within the last 5 years. So a little bit of a different focus in terms of how we brand and outreach to that group. But we've been able to leverage a lot of the innovative solutions through our partnership with Work4. So we can now, all of our recruiters have access to automatically post or share jobs across their social networks. And we've also been able to leverage recruiting ads very successfully. So sharing jobs and recruiting ads have really enabled us to tap into, a talent pool of more than 3.2 million healthcare professionals, and I think that's key. We talk about social job sharing. That means that this functionality, and this is actually the page here actually depicts what that looks like, but we have the ability to set up social job sharing functionality in that positions are actually posted to specific geographical markets. We can have them posted on a daily basis through all of our social job channels as well. We could do it in a more targeted way if it's a specific location, a specific role. So basically, we've enabled to the recruiters the functionality to set this up, and it runs automatically. So they're not having to go in every single day and set up a new search. And just based on the sheer volume, I mentioned that we have a large number of clinical hires, but right now in the United States alone, we have almost 21 open positions, not requisitions. These are open funded positions. So you can imagine with 60 recruiters, it's a high volume. We're still looking for efficiencies in the way that we operate each and every day, and this has been a tremendously efficient way for us to set up searches that are feeding into these networks and then feeding into the networks of our employees and so on and so forth. So it allows candidates to share these opportunities within their networks as well. So again, it's the power of the social network, and this is fantastic technology that's allowed us to be successful in that way. Additionally, through Work4 and our partnership, we've been able to really leverage our brand. So we're constantly updating and changing our brand, enhancing that each and every day. And today, the majority of our recruiters in the United States are leveraging the social job sharing application, and we're continuing to educate and train them to make sure that they feel comfortable in leveraging these resources as well. We hire nurses, medical professionals, as I said, all across the globe, customer service, claims, operations, business process engineers, application developers. So we're not just using this to identify and outreach to healthcare professionals, but it has been a huge part of our strategy. However, I did want to just make sure that I referenced that we are leveraging this for all of our functional areas. So finance, legal, IT, healthcare, human resources, staff functions. So again, it's a big part of our overarching strategy as well. Next slide, please. Again, promoting Cigna as a brand employer of choice, or what we now refer to it as a premier employer. So again, leveraging this technology, it's really been able to allow us to keep job seekers in our application funnel with a better candidate experience. It's also optimized for social and mobile users. So it allows candidates to search for, view, and apply for open positions without ever leaving, Cigna's social career page. So they're not going from, our Facebook page and then going back out to the Cigna career site or external career site. They can actually do it right through Facebook. So again, very easy and very, very efficient. What you're seeing here is actually a video of Cigna's overview in terms of our global business strategy. This is something new that we've been able to leverage on our Facebook page, so a candidate can click on that 2-minute interview overview that we created purposely to perform the realistic job preview. So who is Cigna? What do they do? I didn't know Cigna was a global organization. What opportunities are available? Who are the people that we serve each and every day? So we've been able to, again, work with our partners to ensure that we're constantly providing that level of detail, and that realistic job preview is very important. And then, as you can see here, we've also been able to leverage this to talk about open house events that we're conducting in a variety of very key markets for very key initiatives underway. Next slide, please. So promoting Cigna's brand and jobs on multiple channels. So what does this mean? For the last quarter, we've had over 4,000 total views on our Cigna.com or Cigna Facebook page. We've had over 3,000 jobs shared by users through social job sharing. That means that the recruiters leveraged the social job sharing application and went out to someone's network. They sent it out to their network. They shared it with their network. And I always love to tell the story, and I did this recently. On a Saturday, I was sitting at my son's soccer game, and I had an alert come in through Facebook because someone had seen a post for a human resources business partner in one of our key markets, and it went viral. I literally had 3 resumes within 2 hours of candidates that just through the power of my network. It was really very interesting, and I'm really proud of that story because it can happen anywhere at any time, but it just goes to show you how easy it truly is.
Dina, I just want to take a second real quick. I know that a question came through as you've been talking in regards to adoption, and I know that's always a question I hear as well. I think somebody had a question in regards to anything that you do to help get adoption of social sharing within your teams and your employees, and I'm just wondering if there's any advice that you can give in that area and anything special that you think that you're doing.
So within the talent acquisition team, we've spent a lot of time talking about that because we actually our partners at Work4 help us generate reports. So we know within talent acquisition who is leveraging the functionality of social job sharing as an example. And so we use that information as a kind of a reward. So first we have different things that we've done in terms of recognition for those that are really leveraging our social channels and really being a champion for the organization. And then conversely, we use that for training purposes. So if there's someone that may not feel as comfortable, we've been able to develop and then conduct a number of training sessions to help them to feel just a little bit more comfortable with how it works. Because at first glance, it might seem a little bit cumbersome, but it's really not. So once you get the hang of it, it's actually very, very easy and intuitive, if you will. So we've spent a lot of time leveraging the data. I think that's really important. And in any tool like this, specifically social job sharing, there are all kinds of analytics behind it, and that information is provided to us. We know exactly how it's working. We know how the ad campaigns are working, how many clicks to these ads. We know what the recruiters are doing, and we're leveraging that to continue to reinforce the role that they need to play in a very new world. As it relates to our employees, I would say that's a work in progress. So again, we're not necessarily where we want to be, but we've improved in terms of how do we use our employees to continue to be those talent brand ambassadors. And I think we've done a good job, right? So number one source of hire, employee referrals. Quality is very, very strong because we've been able to gather that information as well. But how can we continue to improve that? So we've actually instituted a number of campaigns. We invite our new hires to link to us. We invite them to like our page on Facebook. We've actually run some targeted ads with our new early career hiring page. And I just got a congratulations email from Work4 yesterday saying, hey, congratulations, the 800th new member or like to your early career hiring Facebook page based on the very targeted ad campaigns that we've been doing recently. So just a lot of different ways that we're using our partnerships and the data to help drive decisions around education and engagement. I hope that helps.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, and we're not perfect. That's just an example. We have a long way to go. We talk a lot about engagement. And, in a world where, in our case, we have 60 recruiters and that high volume of work, we really want them focused on the sourcing and assessment of talent and consultation to the business. So what, again, are the tools that we're giving them to be most successful in the most efficient way? That's really, really important, in anything that we're introducing to them to get that buy-in and, frankly, to empower them to leverage these tools more proactively. Okay, next slide, please. So I referenced this already. This is Cigna's early career hiring page. We just reached I think this is the newest slide, 782. I think we're closer to 800 now based on the email I just received. So we're very excited about that. But we do a lot of work with campuses. We have targeted campus campaigns and partnerships all across the globe that we leverage for our development programs, our internship and co-op programs. We hire hundreds of interns and co-ops on an annual basis as well. But we wanted to take a bit of a different approach in getting out into the marketplace to talk about the opportunities that we have and how we bridge the gap on campus. So we link back to our early career hiring page and all of our correspondence and anything that we're doing on the campuses across the globe as well. Over the course of the next year, we'll be continuing to build out the strategy and making it a bit more global than it is today. So this is also a work in progress for us in terms of our outreach and accessibility to information. But we ran a campaign most recently that was targeted at the early career hires. So we literally had, I think, within a month and a half, hundreds of new responses to signing to the early career hiring page through the targeted ad campaigns that we were running with our partners at Work4. We also had, according to my statistics here, 81.6% of job views came from mobile devices, and we saw an increase of 45% of job views coming through the social job sharing functionality. So very similar to Cigna's career Facebook page, early career hires page, also we post positions, and we can use social job sharing functionality through the early career hiring Facebook page as well. So as you can imagine, the fall is a very big recruiting season for us on college campuses. So it's really important that we have a very strong presence and partnership in place to continue to expand our brand presence. And in certain markets across the globe, the brand presence might be just a little bit different. So how are we going to continue to tailor that message to make it more attractive as well? Next slide. Okay, I think we're getting to the end of the presentation where we talk a little bit about some of our targeted ads. So we could, as a suggestion, as you're thinking about, what your strategy is going forward, but making the most of your recruiting budget by targeting specific candidate profiles on Facebook is something that we've done. As we heard earlier, we can search for candidates based on professional experience, education, location, interests, and there are other criteria that you can leverage as well. For us, specifically healthcare recruiting, traditional recruiting techniques are not as effective as they once were. So being able to leverage something like a targeted ad campaign in a specific market is absolutely critical to our success and will continue to be a part of our overarching strategy. And I do want to talk a little bit about some of the results here, if we can turn to the next slide. So this is an example of a campaign that was running in the July timeframe for application developer. This is a part of our IT organization, and we were looking for very key talent for Cigna HealthSpring, which is a business that we acquired in the Nashville, Tennessee area. So as you can see here, this is a more targeted approach in terms of how we were able to leverage targeted ads for that specific skill set. But if you go to the next slide, I think that's where we're going to talk a little bit about, here we go, the targeted ad campaigns that we've done most recently in Chicago. So in Chicago, we're building up our operations. We have new Medicare contracts and business that we're expanding in the Chicago market. And Chicago market for Cigna has not been a big focus for us in the past. We've always had a small presence in Chicago, but not a big presence in Chicago. So, our big service centers are located in Illinois, or Bourbonnais, which is about 40 minutes outside Chicago, Scranton, Texas, Chattanooga, Bloomfield, Connecticut, Philly, but not in Chicago. So how are we going to attract, a large pool of great clinical talent in a very short amount of time to meet the needs of the organization? So through some targeted ads and work that we did with our workforce partners, we started targeting users based on that location. So the location of Chicago, Illinois, within a 30-mile radius, the age group of 25 to 60, education major of nursing, Bachelor of Science in Nursing, BSN, the work position, keywords, nurse, registered nurse, LPN, case manager, RN, nurse, case manager, and interests that they may have notated. So registered nurse, nursing, RN, BSN, Bachelor of Science, nurse case manager, RN case manager, medical case management are just a few of those interests that we were able to pull in and target more specifically, for that particular campaign. As a result of this particular campaign, we've actually been working very closely with the recruiting team there. We've actually had 35 key hires. These are RN case managers in 60 days. So, again, talking just not about the opportunities, but also getting the word out into the networks there about the open house events and our growth strategy in that particular market. So this has just been fantastic. As you can see, just from a growth and applicants perspective, it absolutely does work. So as we look at additional markets, Chicago, Plano, Texas, Nashville, Tennessee, Glendale, California, these are all markets that we're going to be targeting with some additional ad campaigns over the course of the next 90 days. I think, again, the one thing I would just mention, if you want to move to the next slide, one thing I would just mention about the targeted ads is, it's not just a one and done. So yes, we have targeted ads, but think about it. This is a long-term strategy for us. So we may be targeting certain individuals, but they also have the ability to share within their own network. So again, it's leveraging networks to build our brand presence. And perhaps they're not interested in joining the organization today, but they're going to remember us, right? And they're going to want to think about us potentially if they're interested in making a change. Maybe 6 months from now, could be a year from now. But our presence and how we've continued to build that awareness, I think, is going to be very, very key and very important for our future success. Next slide. So I guess in closing, what I would just say is, for us, social media is much more than just another channel. We've really, as I said, integrated this with our employer brand strategy and our partners. So we listen and we ask. if there's a market that we want to target and we're interested in potentially a targeted ad campaign, we're not just doing it. We're saying, well, here's what we want to do. Let us know. They have the analytics, right? So tell us, is this going to work in this market? What does it look like? Is the talent pool available? Be thoughtful in your decision. Pilot a site. See if it works for you. These are all things that we've done as well. And share those results openly. Those are the things that I would encourage you to think about as well. So, social media can be a very powerful recruiting tool. It's really helped us convey our employment needs to a very large number of qualified healthcare professionals. And it's really helped us to explore and enter a different realm in terms of outreach, casting that widest net, and developing a stronger brand reputation in the marketplace. So I hope this has helped you today. And again, thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Great.
Well, I do. Yeah. Ron, do you want to have anything else to say real quick?
No, I'll go ahead and open it up to you.
Sure. I do want to just from HX send a big thank you to both Dina and Ron for taking all of this time out of their schedules to come and spend this time with us and our membership and really give us a fascinating look at how Cigna has leveraged social media to drive some really impressive recruiting results. And members, I've seen a lot of really great comments and questions coming through there. Definitely let me think of who it was who has had that comment earlier.
Barney.
Yeah.
About
Barney.
the social
Barney
sharing.
had quite a few. Brian, thank you so much for the comment. Jennifer and Judy as well. I'm afraid that we have run out of time. I know we've run a little bit over than the normal webcast. We really appreciate you guys sticking around with us to catch the end of this. I will be passing on every one of your comments, all of your questions on to our presenters. So we will try to get some answers out there for you guys for that. But I do want to say, again, thank you again to both of our presenters, Dina, and to Ron, and then also to Work4 for making this webcast possible. And of course, members, you are the reason that Ben and I do this every day. So we appreciate you guys taking the time, making those comments, sending us stuff on Twitter, sending us emails, whatever we can do to make this experience the best for you, whatever questions and challenges you're faced, we want to get into and dig into those issues and find some interesting answers. So thank you so much for taking that time to spend with us. If you maybe have anybody who wasn't able to attend today or they had a meeting come up last minute, definitely go ahead and copy and paste the address of where you are right now. And we should have the on-demand version of this webcast on later this evening. So just send that web address to where you are, and it'll work on mobile phones, on tablets, so like iPhones, Androids, whatever they want to watch the webcast you just watched. It'll be available and ready for them. I do want to wish everybody a great remainder of your day, and I look forward to seeing you on the next webcast. Thank you, everyone, and bye for now.